huge coffin found at a construction site in Alexandria. Some have been wondering if it might reveal the body of Alexander the Great.
Lost in the sands of time and hidden among ancient ruins, the final resting place of Alexander the Great has been a mystery for centuries. Historians, treasure hunters, and scholars have tirelessly searched for his tomb, but it remained elusive until now. Thanks to years of research, advanced technology, and a bit of luck, scientists and archaeologists might have finally found the long-lost grave of this iconic figure. But where had it been hiding all along? Join us as we explore the 20 most astonishing and strange tombs ever discovered. Number 20. Cyrus the Great's tomb. Cyrus the Great was a significant figure in history, known for founding an empire that marked the beginning of what would later become the Persian Empire. This empire played a major role in shaping the ancient world until it was eventually overtaken by the Greeks, paving the way for the rise of Alexander the Great. One of the most remarkable historical sites connected to Cyrus the Great is his tomb. This structure, made of limestone with a stepped base and topped by a rectangular chamber, is believed to date back to around 540 to 530 BC. At first glance, this might seem like just another ancient monument, but there's an interesting twist to the story. While the tomb is indeed real and was even renovated by Alexander the Great during his visit, there's no concrete evidence that Cyrus's body was ever laid to rest inside it. The tomb is named after him, but he might not even be buried there. Some reports suggest that instead of housing the remains of the great ruler, the tomb might contain the body of a prophet's mother. Number 19. The Tomb of King Pakal. The tomb of the ancient Mayan King Pakal, known as the Tomb of Pakal the Great, was unearthed in 1948 in the Temple of the Inscriptions at Palenque, a significant Mayan city in present-day Mexico. Despite the groundbreaking discovery, it took scholars about 60 years to fully decipher the intricate hieroglyphics on the tomb's panels. When the hieroglyphics were finally translated, they revealed an evocative title for the tomb: House of the Nine Sharpened Spears. This phrase suggests that the tomb was more than just a resting place. It was a symbol of power and martial prowess. The 9 sharpened spears might refer to a group of powerful ancestors or a legendary elite guard, emphasizing the tomb's role in the king's spiritual and military legacy. The inscriptions also provide clues about the period in which the tomb was built, roughly between 700 and 800 BC, during the final centuries of the classic Maya civilization. This era was characterized by political and military turbulence, with numerous city-states vying for dominance. The discovery of Pakal's tomb during this time reveals how deeply the Maya were engaged in warfare and how it influenced their art and culture. Moreover, the Maya civilization was renowned for its achievements in several fields. Number 18. Elizabeth Demidovs' tomb. Elizabeth Demidovs' tomb, located in a French cemetery in Paris, is one of the most visited resting places in the world. This cemetery is renowned for its impressive mausoleums, and among them, Elizabeth Demidovs' tomb stands out for its unique and eerie story. Elizabeth Demidov was a Russian countess from a very wealthy family. Before her death, she made a peculiar promise. She vowed to pay 1 million francs to anyone who would visit her tomb and stay there for an entire year. Her intention was clear. She didn't want to be alone in the afterlife. Despite this interesting offer, no one has ever claimed the reward. Many brave souls took on the challenge, but their experiences were far from pleasant. Visitors reported hearing strange, unearthly sounds, and some even went wild trying to endure the haunting atmosphere of the tomb. The eerie conditions and psychological strain proved too much for most, making it nearly impossible for anyone to complete the challenge. Interestingly, while Elizabeth's offer remains unclaimed, she is not alone. Over time, her tomb has become the final resting place for other bodies, so she is surrounded by others, though she never paid out her promised reward. The tomb's chilling reputation continues to captivate and terrify those who hear its story. Number 17. The Polish Necropolis. In 2015, Polish archaeologists made a groundbreaking discovery: a massive necropolis, or ancient burial ground, dating back 2,000 years. This extraordinary site, located near the village of Biskupin, features 120 tombs that were in use from the 1st to the 3rd century AD, a period known as the Roman influence era. The necropolis belonged to the Przeworsk culture, a group known for its intricate burial practices and rich cultural interactions with neighboring civilizations. The tombs provide a fascinating glimpse into the evolution of burial customs over time. Initially, the Przeworsk people practiced Celtic-style burials, which involved covering graves with large mounds of earth. These mounds, known as barrows, were designed to honor the deceased and mark their resting place. As Roman influence grew, their burial practices gradually transformed to reflect Roman traditions, such as the use of stone grave markers and more elaborate grave goods. Among the most striking finds is a rare princely two-person tomb, which stands out for its unusual arrangement. This tomb contains the remains of a man in his 20s and a teenage boy, both of whom were buried together. Such double tombs are exceptionally rare, with only 5 known examples worldwide, and this is the only one ever discovered in Poland. Number 16. Tomb of William Jeffreys. In the 19th century, a North Carolina state senator named William Jeffreys had an unusual fear. He was terrified of worms, especially the thought of his body being consumed by them after death. Because of this intense fear, Jeffreys made a unique dying wish. He wanted to be buried inside a large boulder instead of in the ground. Elected to office in 1844, Jeffreys was young, healthy, and only 28 years old. However, after returning from a trip with what seemed to be a minor illness, his condition took a strange turn. He began to hallucinate and obsessively talk about his death, repeatedly telling anyone who would listen, "Bury me in a rock." As his health declined, his fear grew more desperate, and in October 1845, he passed away. Determined to honor his unusual request, Jeffreys' family hired a skilled stonemason to carve out a tomb from a massive rock. This was no easy task. It took the mason an entire year to chisel the rock into a suitable resting place. Alongside the rock tomb, the mason also carved a traditional headstone with an inscription, marking the senator's final, peculiar resting place. According to the most bizarre and gruesome tale, his body was placed in a barrel filled with brandy and lowered into a river to preserve it until the tomb was ready. Number 15. The Okunoin Cemetery. Nestled in the mountains of Wakayama Prefecture, southeast of Osaka, lies the Okunoin Cemetery, a place steeped in history and spiritual significance. Covering an impressive 1.24 miles, Okunoin is Japan's largest cemetery and a site of profound reverence. Established in 816 AD, it serves as the final resting place for over 200,000 Buddhist monks who are believed to be awaiting a future resurrection, proof of the cemetery's long-standing importance in Japanese Buddhism. Okunoin's vast expanse is dotted with intricately carved gravestones, lanterns, and towering cedar trees, creating a unique and atmospheric landscape. The cemetery's tranquil paths are often shrouded in mist, especially during the early morning and late evening, adding to its mystical and sometimes eerie ambiance. Despite its ghostly allure, this sacred site is revered for its spiritual depth. What sets Okunoin apart is its role as the final resting place of Kobo Daishi, also known as Kukai, the founder of the Shingon Buddhist sect. Kobo Daishi is one of Japan's most venerated spiritual figures, and his mausoleum at Okunoin is considered a powerful and sacred site. According to tradition, Kobo Daishi is in a state of eternal meditation, awaiting the arrival of Maitreya, the future Buddha. Devotees come from all over Japan to offer ritualistic meals to Kobo Daishi twice a day, a practice that has been maintained for centuries. Number 14. The Upright Mayan Tomb. Once, the mighty Mayan Empire stretched to what is now Honduras, with Copan standing out as one of its most significant cities. From the 5th to the 9th century, Copan was a vibrant center of trade and political activity, known for its impressive architectural achievements and complex society. Despite its prominence, many of its secrets remained hidden for centuries. That changed dramatically in 2025 when archaeologists made a groundbreaking discovery in the Copan ruins. They uncovered an extraordinary tomb containing the remains of an elite Mayan individual. This tomb was remarkable for several reasons. The deceased, who likely lived around AD 650, was found seated upright in a richly decorated chair. This posture was highly unusual, since the Mayans typically did not sit in such a manner. Instead, they usually reclined or sat cross-legged on the ground. The tomb was richly adorned with a dazzling array of jade jewelry, including intricately carved pieces and elaborate ornaments that spoke to the high status of the individual buried there. The discovery was made inside a temple located far from the Acropolis, Copan's main ceremonial center, where most important figures were traditionally interred. This temple's remote location added another layer of interest, suggesting that this individual held a unique and possibly unconventional position in Mayan society. Number 13. The Nubian Pyramids of Sudan. The Nubian Pyramids of Sudan are a captivating historical enigma. These pyramids emerged roughly 1,000 years after the Egyptians had ceased constructing their pyramids, which is quite unusual. Generally, civilizations adopt trends from their contemporaries rather than waiting centuries before embracing them. The Nubian pyramids were built over several centuries, from around 800 BCE to 350 CE, during the reign of the Kingdom of Kush. These pyramids served as elaborate tombs for the royal family, including kings, queens, and high-ranking officials. Unlike the Egyptian pyramids, which were predominantly built from limestone, the Nubian pyramids were constructed primarily from granite, with some using sandstone. This choice of materials not only highlights the unique architectural style of Nubia, but also showcases the advanced stoneworking techniques of the Kushites. Interestingly, Nubian pyramids outnumber their Egyptian counterparts by a ratio of 2-to-1. While Egypt is famous for its iconic pyramids, such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Nubian region boasts over 200 pyramids. If it weren't for the destructive activities of an Italian treasure hunter named Giuseppe Ferlini in the 19th century, who looted and damaged many of these structures, there would be around 40 more Nubian pyramids today. Despite this loss, the surviving pyramids are now part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, ensuring their preservation and protection. Number 12. The Flooding Cult Tomb. In 2011, archaeologists working at a pre-Incan site in Peru made a remarkable discovery: the tomb of a high-ranking priestess, along with 8 other burial sites. This find was impressive, but it was the subsequent discovery in 2013 that truly captivated the archaeological world. During the 2013 excavation, the team uncovered an extraordinary chamber designed specifically to be flooded. This chamber was part of a complex ritual associated with an ancient water cult practiced by the Lambayeke people, who lived around 800 years ago. The Lambayeke, also known as the Sikan, were known for their sophisticated metalwork and elaborate burial practices, which reflected their rich culture and religious beliefs. Inside the flooded chamber, the archaeologists found 4 sets of human remains. One of these remains was adorned with an array of luxurious artifacts, including intricate pearl, turquoise, and shell beads. These items were not just decorative. They were believed to be symbols of status and protection in the afterlife. The other 3 sets of remains were more modestly dressed, consistent with the custom of burying elite individuals with a retinue of lesser-ranked companions to ensure they were well attended in the next world. Number 11. The Shamans Tomb. Around 12,000 years ago, a highly esteemed woman passed away, and her final journey was marked by a deeply elaborate and respectful burial ceremony. This woman, estimated to be around 45 years old at the time of her death, was discovered in 2025 in a cave called Hilazon Tashtit in northern Israel. Among the 29 skeletons found in the cave, hers was especially distinguished. Archaeologists believe she was a shaman, a spiritual figure who likely could communicate with animal spirits, based on the numerous animal bones and ritual artifacts found with her. Her burial was a grand and complex affair. The ceremony included a feast featuring 86 tortoises, an impressive number that underscores her high status within the tribe. This ceremonial meal was part of a 6-stage burial process. Initially, her tomb was carefully prepared within the cave, and the burial site was adorned with animal remains, including those of deer and wild boar, along with other ceremonial objects such as flint tools and beads. In a final, poignant touch, a large stone slab was placed to separate her burial space from the other skeletons in the cave, emphasizing her distinct status and the care taken to honor her final resting place. Number 10. Inz Clarks Tomb. In 1880, a young girl named Inz Clark passed away at the tender age of 6. Overcome with grief, her parents decided to commission a life-size statue of their beloved daughter to serve as her grave marker, rather than opting for a traditional headstone. This unique memorial is in Chicago's historic Graceland Cemetery, where it stands out as one of the most famous and easily recognizable tombs. The statue, crafted by a Sicilian sculptor, took an entire year to complete before it was placed over Inez's grave. To shield the delicate sculpture from harsh weather, a transparent glass box was later added. Local legend tells of a night watchman who, while doing his rounds through the cemetery, encountered a terrifying sight. The statue of little Inez was gone, and the protective glass box was empty. Shocked and fearful, he reportedly fled the cemetery, never to return. Strangely, by the next morning, the statue was back in its rightful place, as if nothing had happened. Over the years, many visitors have claimed to see a ghostly figure of a young girl dressed in 19th century clothing wandering through the cemetery grounds. These eerie sightings have only added to the mysterious and unsettling atmosphere surrounding Inz Clark's grave, making it a spine-chilling story that still captivates and spooks people today. Number 9. Tomb of Edward of Woodstock. The tomb of Edward of Woodstock, who was a prince in 14th century England, is a remarkable piece of history. Edward was the son of King Edward III of England and was destined to be king himself. But his life was tragically cut short when he died of dysentery at the age of 45 in 1376. He played a significant role in the battles of the 100 Years' War and earned the nickname the Black Prince due to the distinctive black plate armor he wore into battle. Just a day before his death, Edward signed his will, in which he left detailed instructions about his burial. He specified exactly how he wanted to be laid to rest and where his tomb should be located. The tomb itself is a masterpiece, featuring an effigy of the prince dressed in intricately detailed armor, lying atop a tomb chest adorned with symbols of his military achievements. This tomb is considered one of the most significant surviving examples of funerary art in medieval English history because it offers an incredibly accurate representation of the armor worn by the Black Prince himself. The craftsmanship and historical significance of this tomb make it a priceless artifact from a fascinating period in English history. Number 8. Mary Ellis's grave. In the New Brunswick area, there once lived a woman named Mary Ellis. According to local legend, Mary had fallen deeply in love with a sea captain. Before he set off on a voyage, he promised to return to her. Mary would stand at a particular spot that overlooked the river, waiting for his return. So devoted was she to this spot that she eventually bought the land where she stood, hoping to keep a vigilant eye out for his return. Whether the sea captain ever did come back remains a mystery. Tragically, Mary passed away before she could see him again. Her family chose to bury her right at that spot where she had spent so many days waiting. As time went on, other family members who passed away were also laid to rest on that same land. What makes this story particularly captivating is not just the dedication and sorrow of Mary's tale, but what happened next. The land where Mary and her family were buried was later rezoned for different uses. However, the authorities decided to preserve Mary Ellis's grave, honoring her enduring love and watchful vigil. This gesture was both kind and respectful, maintaining the integrity of a touching piece of local history. Number 7. Florence Irene Ford's grave. Florence Irene Ford, a young girl from Natchez, Mississippi, tragically passed away at the age of 10 in 1871, a victim of the yellow fever epidemic that swept through the area. Her death was a devastating blow to her family, particularly to her mother, Ellen Ford, who was left heartbroken. Yet, the story of Florence's passing took a deeply emotional and unique turn that still resonates today. Florence had always been terrified of thunderstorms. Whenever a storm struck, she would run into her mother's bed, seeking comfort and safety in her mother's arms. After her untimely death, Ellen could not bear the thought of her daughter being alone during the violent storms that often hit their region. In her grief, she decided to do something extraordinary to continue to care for Florence, even in death. Ellen Ford requested that a special grave be built for Florence in the Natchez City Cemetery. The grave included a set of steps descending to a viewing window that looked directly into Florence's casket. Above this window, a heavy metal trapdoor was installed to protect the entrance. Whenever a storm approached, Ellen would descend those steps, open the door, and sit by the window, speaking softly to her daughter, hoping to provide the same comfort in death that she had given in life. Number 6. The Costa Tomb. In 2012, archaeologists made a groundbreaking discovery in northern Greece, an elaborate tomb dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. This tomb, known as the Costa Tomb or the Amphipolis Tomb, is one of the largest and most opulent burial sites ever unearthed from the ancient Greek period. The tomb's interior is adorned with a breathtaking mosaic that portrays scenes from Greek mythology, including the legendary battle between the gods and the Titans. The pillars flanking the entrance are intricately designed to resemble young women, a stylistic feature that highlights the craftsmanship of the era. Built during the turbulent period following Alexander the Great's death, the tomb is thought to be the final resting place of someone of significant importance. Theories about the tomb's occupants are varied and interesting. Some historians assume that it could be a member of Alexander's royal family, such as his mother, Queen Olympias. Another compelling theory is that the tomb belongs to Hephaestion, Alexander's beloved friend and companion, whose death deeply affected the conqueror. 5 bodies were discovered within the tomb, suggesting a complex and possibly ceremonial burial arrangement. However, excavation and study of the site were abruptly halted due to Greece's severe financial crisis. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. In a remote desert in Egypt, a team of archaeologists unearthed a tomb that would reshape history. The world had long speculated about the final resting place of Alexander the Great, the legendary conqueror whose empire spanned from Greece to India. Despite countless searches, the tomb remained elusive, until now. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the dig site. Dr. Emma Carter, the lead archaeologist, struck something unusual with her trowel. The ground seemed to hum with a hidden power. With bated breath, her team carefully cleared the debris to reveal a massive stone slab inscribed with symbols not seen in millennia. The symbols glowed faintly in the twilight, as if they held secrets waiting to be shared. After weeks of thorough work, the slab was lifted, revealing a grand entrance adorned with intricate carvings of Greek gods and mythical creatures. As the team descended into the tomb, they were greeted by a breathtaking sight. A vast chamber lined with golden artifacts, statues of ancient heroes, and a sarcophagus encrusted with precious gems. At the center lay the sarcophagus, inscribed with Alexander's name and flanked by two towering marble statues of him in his warrior garb. Dr. Carter's heart raced as she approached the sarcophagus. The air was thick with anticipation and the scent of ancient history. They opened the sarcophagus, and inside, remarkably well preserved, was the body of Alexander the Great. His face, serene and regal, seemed to gaze into the future he had never lived to see. Could this discovery change our understanding of how his empire was structured and managed? Let us have your opinions in the comment below. Number 5. The European in China. In 1999, an extraordinary archaeological find was made in China, a tomb containing the 1,400-year-old remains of a man named Yu Hong. What sets this discovery apart is that Yu Hong, though buried in China, was of European descent. The tomb was uncovered in Taiyuan, marking the furthest eastern point where individuals with Hong's genetic background have been found. Yu Hong belonged to an ancient lineage that traced its roots back to Western Eurasia, a region stretching from the Eastern Mediterranean to Central Asia. This makes his burial site particularly remarkable. The tomb's architecture and art are typical of Central Asian burial practices from that period, showcasing intricate designs and elaborate decorations. However, the tomb's frescoes and carvings depict Yu Hong and his family with distinctly European features, such as straight noses and blue eyes, which contrasts sharply with the local Asian styles of the time. Interestingly, alongside Yu Hong's remains, the archaeologists also discovered the remains of an Eastern Asian woman, who is believed to have been his wife. This suggests a blending of cultures and highlights the ancient connections between distant regions. Number 4. Monument of New Grange, Ireland. The Monument of New Grange is an extraordinary prehistoric tomb nestled in Ireland's Boyne Valley in County Meath. Dating back over 5,200 years, New Grange is older than both the Great Pyramid of Giza and Stonehenge, showcasing the incredible ingenuity of its builders from the Neolithic period. This remarkable site is essentially a massive earthen mound, measuring 279 feet in diameter and rising 43 feet high, covering about an acre of land. Beneath this mound lies an intricate network of underground passageways and chambers. The main passage stretches 62 feet and leads to a central chamber with 3 alcoves, demonstrating sophisticated construction techniques and a deep understanding of architectural principles. One of the most fascinating aspects of New Grange is its precise astronomical alignment. During the winter solstice, sunlight streams through a specially designed opening above the entrance, illuminating the interior passage and chamber in a spectacular display. This alignment likely held profound significance for the Neolithic people, marking the rebirth of the sun and the changing of seasons. Surrounding the mound are 97 massive stones, known as curbstones, adorned with intricate carvings. These artworks include spirals, meanders, and other geometric patterns that offer a glimpse into the symbolic and ritualistic practices of the time. Number 3. Valley of the Kings. The grand and unmistakable tombs of the ancient Egyptian pharaohs were just one way these ancient people honored their deceased rulers. They also dedicated significant effort to creating hidden and secretive underground burial sites for their leaders. One of the most famous of these sites is the Valley of the Kings, located on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor in Egypt. This valley became the primary burial ground for pharaohs, high-ranking officials, and other important figures during the New Kingdom period, which spanned from 1539 to 1075 BC. In the Valley of the Kings, the final resting places of renowned figures such as Tutankhamun, Seti I, Ramses II, and numerous queens, high priests, and dignitaries were meticulously prepared. However, these tombs did not remain undisturbed forever. Over time, they were discovered and excavated, and their contents were transported to museums and other modern institutions. The reason behind the secrecy of these tombs was simple. The grand tombs of previous pharaohs were frequently targeted by grave robbers. By concealing these burial sites beneath the sands of the valley, the ancient Egyptians hoped to better preserve the tombs and their valuable contents, allowing them to remain intact for their journey to the afterlife. Number 2. Qin Shi Huang's tomb. The tomb of China's first emperor is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, renowned for its vastness and complexity. Despite being discovered in the mid-1970s, the tomb itself remains excavated, shrouded in mystery. This site is famously home to the Terracotta Warriors, who continue their duty of guarding the emperor by keeping archaeologists occupied, leaving the tomb undisturbed. These thousands of life-sized warriors, along with horses, stand in full armor, arranged in an intimidating battle formation facing east, the direction from which the emperor's enemies would have approached. What's truly remarkable is that each warrior is uniquely crafted, with distinct facial features, hairstyles, and headgear that signify their rank. Standing around 6 feet tall and weighing up to 600 pounds. The reason behind the creation of these terracotta figures lies in the ancient Chinese belief in the afterlife, which dates back over 3,000 years. The people of that time believed that when they died, they would continue to exist in another realm. To prepare for this journey, the wealthy and noble wanted to bring with them everything they might need, including servants. However, when it came to the emperor, a different solution was found. Instead of sacrificing his best soldiers, they were replaced with carefully crafted pottery figures, ensuring the emperor would still be protected in the afterlife while sparing the lives of the living. Number 1. Alexander the Great's tomb. For more than 2,300 years, scholars and adventurers have been on a relentless quest to find the tomb of Alexander the Great, one of the most legendary figures in history. Despite countless efforts, this remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of our time. According to ancient records from the historian Pausanias and the Pannon Chronicle, dating back to 321 to 320 BC, Alexander's body was first laid to rest in Memphis, Egypt, by one of his trusted generals, Ptolemy. But the story doesn't end there. Sometime in the late 4th or early 3rd century BC, during the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty, Alexander's remains were moved from Memphis to the bustling city of Alexandria. There, his sarcophagus was enshrined in a grand temple complex called the Serapeum, built by Pharaoh Nectanebo II. Many historians today believe that Alexandria is the final resting place of Alexander the Great. Yet, after centuries of searching, the exact location of his tomb remains a tantalizing enigma, fueling both curiosity and speculation. Which of these tombs do you find the most unusual? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below.